How old were you when you had your first favorite car? Like real first favorite car, where you were old enough to visually tell the differences between make and models. Having a favorite car is an interesting and wonderful thing, especially the first. I still remember my first favorite car and how I loved it so much. But I also remember how I felt when I had to admit that I didn't really like it anymore. When I was 12, I used to go around to car dealerships looking for cool cars. It was kind of like treasure hunting to me. It was a fun activity that my grandma and I would do when she'd come to visit. And there was this one time where we were at a Jag dealership, and this salesperson came up to us and just started chatting. We told him that we were just scouting, and he was cool with it because I was 12. And he eventually asked what my favorite car was, my dream car. So I told him the Bugatti Veyron Supersport, right? He laughed, of course, and then asked for a more realistic dream car. After thinking about it for a second, I thought the McLaren P1, reasonably. And to be fair to my 12-year-old self, it was half the price. So, makes sense, right? It's realistic. But deep down I knew that I would rather just save up for the Bugatti Veyron Supersport rather than settling for the McLaren P1. The Bugatti Veyron Supersport was my favorite car. I loved it so much. Not only was it the fastest, but I just liked it more than all the others. But its reign on the top speed charts and my heart didn't seem to last. Hello and welcome back to Out of the Lot with Scott. I am your host, Scott, and for today's episode 2 of our series, we are going to look at the car that was king. King of top speed and king of my favorite cars list. However, just like all strong empires, the Bugatti Veyron Supersport was eventually dethroned. I started to really like cars around the age of 12, or at least that's when I started to think of them more than just cool vehicles. It all started, I assume like most of us, by watching Top Gear. I really enjoyed that show. It gave me an opportunity to see all these expensive hypercars that I knew I would never get to see in real life. The Bugatti Veyron Supersport really caught my 12-year-old eye. It was cool looking, it had a big engine, it made a great sound, and it was literally the fastest. From 2005 to 2007, the Bugatti Veyron 16.4 held the fastest top speed record. 253.8 miles an hour was the speed. That is exhibit 1, why I liked it so much. Speed was and still is very cool. It's hard to grasp your head around how fast 253.8 miles per hour is. I mean, horses gallop at 30 miles an hour. For you to cross the United States on horseback at 30 miles an hour, just doing some quick mental math here, if you carry the one integral of 42 divide by 12, yeah, it would take you 93 hours. That is a very long time. And let's be honest, you may have to get another horse because they get tired and fall over. But in a Bugatti Veyron 16.4, going 253.8 miles an hour to cross the United States of America, it would only take you 11 hours. That is incredible. Now, it will cost you $6,000 in gas, but let's be honest, who's counting? You own a Bugatti. You're not going to care about $6,000, right? That was just a short way of saying how fast this car really is. Or I should say was, because in 2007, the SSC Ultimate Aero beat it out by a couple more miles per hour. I didn't really care at the time. I was 4 years old and didn't even know the difference between my left and rights yet. But by the time I did care, the Bugatti took back the throne with the Bugatti Veyron Supersport. This specific model was an absolute unit. It had bigger turbos, bigger intercoolers than the original trim, and had better aerodynamics. They took the best car in the world and somehow made it better. The Supersport was put back on the track and wiped the SSC clean with a 268 mile per hour average speed. How could you not like that as a 12-year-old? 10 miles an hour faster than the previous record holder. And although Bugatti re-engineered stuff, I really think the only reason it went faster was because of that menacing paint job. I mean, it's just so iconic. I never thought orange could be a rich person color, but it just works. It was literally the perfect car for a 12-year-old boy. It was the fastest, coolest, most expensive hypercar. However, there was a problem. I started to get eyes for other vehicles. At the time, it was mostly JDM cars, but even that McLaren P1 started to look really good. But I kept calling the Bugatti my favorite because, I mean, it was the fastest. It had to be the best, right? Well, eventually in 2017, an underdog came in and showed Bugatti that anyone can do what they do. The Koenigsegg Agera RS swooped in and yanked out the top speed record right from Bugatti's hands. Not only did the Agera have a average top speed of almost 10 miles an hour more than the Bugatti, but the highest straight line speed that it hit was 284.55 miles per hour. And this was on a Nevada road, highway, freeway, whatever you call it, not a test track. And it was initially set up by customers of Koenigsegg, not even Koenigsegg itself. That was it. That was it. That was it. That was it. The Bugatti Veyron Supersport, which held the top speed from 2010 to 2017, was finally knocked off its pedestal. So you can imagine, as a Bugatti fanboy, hearing this, I was pretty disappointed. And even though it wasn't the fastest anymore, I also kind of started to not like the way it looks. Even before it lost the top speed record, there's something about it. But I still felt like I had to like it. It felt like an obligation to the old king. But deep down, as a 14-year-old boy, I knew I was lying to myself. It was no longer my favorite car. I still remember that feeling. It was a mix of feeling like you had failed an authority figure in your life, but also like holding on to a relationship that you knew should have faded a long time ago. I no longer loved the Bugatti Veyron Supersport. Part of it was my taste in cars was changing as a byproduct of growing up. Because when we're younger, the more expensive, the more fast, the more flashy, the better. But as we grow up, we start to learn that there's more variables that make a car great. For example, the Lancia Delta was a hatchback. It wasn't flashy or anything, but it was the most successful rally car in history. The Subaru WRX, it isn't expensive, but it has a rich history and it's accessible to the average Joe. Great cars come in many different forms. And I didn't understand that as a kid, which is why I felt like I had to love the Bugatti. I mean, it was the fastest. It was the most expensive. It's the best. But I also realized that I didn't just love the Bugatti because of those things. We like cars that speak to us. And at the time, the Bugatti spoke to me. It's the car that embodied everything that I wanted as a 12-year-old boy. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also nothing wrong with changing my favorite car. One day, it could be the Lancia Delta that's speaking to me. And the next, it could be the Pagani Utopia. It's just how it works. And, you know, it does make me sad every time I change my favorite car. It feels like an end of an era, in a way. But after thinking about it, it's a great thing. I like to research cars that become my favorite. And cars that don't get the same treatment unless it's for like an episode for the show. And the more cars that I call my favorite, the more I learn. But there's another important aspect to it. The cars that do become my favorite built a strong connection with me. And although I may not consider them my favorite down the road, that connection is still there. The Bugatti Veyron Supersport may not be the fastest. It may not look the best, but it will always have a place in my heart because of what it meant to me. Even with writing this episode, I started to remember how I felt about it, and it made me fall in love with it again. It's not my favorite, of course, but I still love it. And that I know that connection will never die. That's why favorite cars are so special, especially the first. What was your favorite car? Was it a hypercar, or was it something a little more simple? Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.